Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
This is Peter Moriarty. Welcome to another episode of Google Made Easy. Today we're going to be covering how to get started with Google Docs. So if you've never started with Google Docs before, if this is your first time, or maybe you've had a bit of a play around in Google Docs, we're going to be teaching you the basics of mastering Google Docs like a pro. So, two quick things. If you're following along at home, make sure that number one, you've got your computer out. This is going to be a highly practical session. So if you want to follow along with us, you are more than welcome to. Or if not, just make sure you're taking really good notes. And number two, make sure you're sharing and engaging with the community on social. So hashtag Google Made Easy or hashtag Business Blueprint, and you can join in on the conversation with us and keep up to date on all the happenings with Google Made Easy. So let's have a look at what we're going to cover in today's episode. So first up, what are Google Docs and how can you use them? We'll start with the absolute basics. What is a Google Doc? How can you use it? And where can you get started with Google Docs in your business? Next, how Google Docs differs from Microsoft Word. So if you're using the Microsoft Word right now, or maybe you're just dabbling in Google Docs and you want to have a look at how they're different and what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, we're going to be covering both of those. Next, what is the step-by-step guide to creating your first Google Doc? So we'll go right from scratch and we'll create one from scratch. Next, how to sort your Google Docs in Google Drive. So Google Drive is where we store all of our files in the Google ecosystem. We're going to go through where to store your documents and how to make that happen. Next up, we're going to be covering how to edit your Google Doc and how you can also see past history. Google gives us a time machine to go back and see the past history of a document. We're going to show you what that looks like. Next up, how to collaborate on a document within your team. So if you want to share a document with somebody in your team, how you can work with that person and get work done together. Next, how you can share a document with someone outside your business. So there's a few different things you need to know there. We're going to show you how to get that done. And next up is how to convert Microsoft documents into Google Docs. So if you're using Microsoft documents at the moment and you want to convert them to Google documents to get a hold of the advantages like live editing and sharing with your team members, we're going to show you how to convert them and how to get that happening. And then finally, how do you get work done when you're offline? Google Docs are in the cloud. So what do we do when we want to work offline? We're going to show you the secret and the method for working offline with Google Docs and show you how super easy it is for you to get those done. So let's get started. Let's get into it. So first up, let's talk about what are Google Docs and how you can use them for your business. So think of Google Docs as a cloud version of Microsoft Office. You know, if you've had a computer for the last 10, 20 years, you're probably used to using Office. We're doing word processing in Microsoft Word. The rest of the suite has spreadsheets in Excel. We've got presentations in PowerPoint. We've even got, Microsoft Access and Publisher and the rest of that suite. Google, about 10 years ago, decided to build a competing product, which is Google Docs. But instead of using local computers and software that you install on your machine, Google used the power of the cloud to build all of these applications to run 100% online and in the browser. So if you're using your computer and you're accessing the internet with Internet Explorer or Safari or Firefox, we would strongly recommend you consider trying out Google Chrome because that's going to work the best with the Google documents. You don't have to, but it is going to work the best when you're working with Google Docs. So to get access to Google Chrome, you just go ahead along to google.com and you can download Google Chrome to your computer, whether you're on a Mac or a PC, and you can get started. So what are Google Docs? What do they actually look like? Let's take a quick look at my computer. I'm going to show you what a Google Doc looks like, and we'll go through some of the fundamentals of working in a Google Doc. So here you see I've got my Google Drive, and I've got a collection of folders in my Google Drive. I've also got a collection of files that kind of sit there in my Google Drive as well. And if I go ahead and open these two tabs here, these are both Google documents. And you'll notice, first of all, that these documents are actually sitting in my web browser. So they are 100% online and cloud-based. I don't have to install anything on my computer apart from maybe Google Chrome. I don't have to, add any plugins or anything fancy. They just work online. And what that means is, no matter what computer I'm using, whether it's a Mac or a PC or a computer at my friend's house, I'm going to get exactly the same experience using Google Docs. So it means that they're completely hassle-free. I don't have to worry about upgrading or reinstalling my software every couple of years. It's always online and it always just works, which is super helpful. So obviously, obviously, we've got a URL for the document, so the document is living 100% in the browser. And then also notice that Google has let us know when the last edit was on this document. So all Google documents are 100% live. They actually are always live and updated in real time. And when we start getting into some of the more advanced features that we'll cover in this episode, like sharing with our colleagues or sharing with somebody outside our business, multiple people can work on a document together at the same time, which is really, really powerful. But let's get back to the documents and stick to the basics for now. So you can see here that when I make any changes to this document, Google is actually going to automatically make those changes save automatically. So if you see here, last edit was 25 minutes ago. If I go ahead and add some more text here and start typing in, you'll see that Google is saving and then saved. It's instantly saving any changes that I make. And that's really the powerful thing about Google Docs, is it means that I'm never reaching for the save button or the save as button to commit the changes to the work that I've done. Now, think about, have you ever worked on a document and you've worked away on it for hours and hours, and then Microsoft Word has crashed, and then all of a sudden you lose your document? And that absolutely sucks. I totally feel your pain. Google completely removes that issue from being able to happen because it's always saving all of your changes instantly, and that's super helpful. So let's go ahead and we'll just undo the changes that we just made, and then we can go straight back to the last version of the document as it looked like. So that's the basics of a Google document. It all sits online, and to access Google Documents, at a minimum, you'll need to have a Gmail address. If you want to be an author of a document, you've got to have, at a minimum, a Gmail address, which you can go and get for free at gmail.com. Or if your business is running Google Apps for work, which we strongly recommend, you can run your whole business on Google Docs. So you can use Gmail, Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Hangouts, Google Calendar, the whole business suite with Google Apps for work, and allow you to get your work done with your team 100% online using Google's ecosystem. So that's the basics of Google Docs. Let's have a chat about how Google Docs differs from Microsoft Word. So you might have used the Microsoft Word to author your documents leading up to right now with your business. So if you've used Word and Excel and those kind of documents, now when you're looking at Google Docs, you'll instantly notice that they're actually just a tiny bit different to Microsoft documents. The first thing that you'll notice is you don't have as many buttons and bells and whistles and all those other options that you would commonly find in Microsoft Office. They're just not there. And the reason for that is Google's obviously a new product. They've started from scratch, and they've decided just the best settings and just the best features to include in Google Docs. Now, they've been around for a few years now. It's about 10 years in on Google Documents, but they still don't have every single bell and whistle that Microsoft Office has. But the key advantage that Google Docs have is the ability to work live and collaborate in real time. And that's what Google Docs does absolutely better than anybody else in the world. The real power of Google Docs is being able to work with your team members from any location on any device. That means that your team might be in the Philippines, they might be in the US, they might be in Canada, they might be in somewhere in Europe. Anywhere your team are, you're able to work on these Google Documents simultaneously and together in real time. And that really changes the game. So Microsoft Documents, and if you're converting your Microsoft Documents over to Google format, you might see some formatting changes. You might see some of the buttons are in different places. You might see not every single feature is there that you might be used to in Microsoft Office. But remember that the big advantage of Google is being able to work more flexibly and being able to work with your team. Now, because Google Documents are live, if I want to send this document to one of my colleagues, remember that because I can't kind of download it as a file, it just lives online, I'm going to be sending a link to this document when I'm sharing it with one of my colleagues. More on that a little bit later. So that's the key difference between Google Apps and Microsoft Office. Yes, you might not get all of the same features and you might not be able to do all of the fancy page publishing and processing things that you can do in Microsoft Word, but the key advantage is the live working and the live updating of Google Apps in Google Documents, and that's why we strongly recommend you give Google Docs a go in your business. So next, let's talk about how to get started with your very first Google document. I'm going to walk you through the basics, starting from absolute scratch on a Google Doc, and we're going to get together starting authoring your first doc. Let's get started on that now. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Google Drive, because Google Drive is where we start to author all of our documents. I'm going to go ahead and open my Google Drive at drive.google.com. I'll make sure I'm signed in. So you can see here I'm signed in with my business address, peter@itgenius.com.au. I'm not using a Gmail address because my business is on Google Apps. So that means that I've got my business domain name running in the Google ecosystem. So let's go ahead and create a new document. So we've got this new menu over here, and that lets me create any of the documents that I'd like to create. You can see that I've got options here in Google Drive to upload files. We're not going to use those. We're going to use create a Google Doc, Google Sheet, or Google Slide. So I'm going to click the Google Docs button. So now I've got my Google document opened. You'll notice here the basics of the Google document and how it might be a little bit different to what you're used to, but you will soon familiarize yourself with all of the controls to get started on your Google document. Now, the first thing that we need to do once we've opened up the Google Doc is we need to give it a name.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.